Going to be starting with Kashawn. Kashawn Taylor is a queer, formerly incarcerated writer and educator based in Connecticut. His poetry, short fiction, and essays have been or will be published by such journals and magazines as the Poetry Lighthouse, Lucky Jefferson, Oyster River Pages, The Offing, Sequestrum, the Ilanot Review, and Poetry Magazine. His full-length collection of poetry, Subhuman, was released by Wayfarer Books in March 2025. He has a collection of prose, essays, and short fiction forthcoming with Whiskey Tit Books. He currently teaches with Gotham Writers Workshop and works with Prison Journalism Project as a 2026 Audience Engagement Fellow. And you can find Kashawn on Instagram at kashawn.writes. So yeah, Kashawn, we are so excited for you to start off our reading for tonight. So please take it away.
Thank you, Kyle, again. I am so excited to be here. And thank you for inviting me. And I'm excited to read with Benin. Um, so I think I just want to kind of get started. I'm gonna start with you guys can hear me okay, right? All right, cool. So I'm gonna start with a couple poems from my book, Subhuman. I hate that it does the thing with the Oh well. So I'm gonna start with a couple poems from my book, Subhuman. So this one is called "These Headphones Should Be Free." It's kind of funny because this is the one that was published in Poetry Magazine, and not gonna lie, I just kind of submitted for shits and giggles because I was like, oh, it's free. I'm like, probably not gonna hear anything back from them. No, first shot, I managed to get a poem in Poetry Magazine, so I'm really, really proud of this one. So this one's called "These Headphones Should Be Free." I walk down a dim hall and appreciate the coruscating layer of wax on the floor, how I could sleep there. Laid probably earlier today or last week or in the time before Securus tablets, that time before headphones when Jesus Christ himself roamed old earth and pulled men from dirt slumber. Why are you complaining? It is unbecoming and very much beneath you, very much like the man you ran into the soil, velvet sky polka dotted with the remnants of creation winking overhead. He'll never listen to The Trouble with Fever and would never ever stew over a lack of cheap earbuds. Even that, I am certain, is beneath him. I aspire to be more like that man, quiet, cold, painless, alone. Instead, the man gave me everything to which I am entitled: purple and turquoise walls, three hots, a cot, and Scantron grocery list. Among other things, I am filled to the brim with privilege. The sum of 36 months is mercy, divine, ineffable. Using a borrowed black bic, I bubble off what, by chance or by karma, I am missing, bite my tongue till it bleeds, and swallow copper self-righteousness and leaden pride. Force myself to remember how life is unfair, how one life snuffed out becomes many, and how much money I'll have for next week's order. I imagine in vivid phantasmagoria how different life might be if I paid attention in church, if I kept on going every Sunday with grandma. Probably I'd still be an erupting volcano of shame and contrition, wondering forever where Jesus Christ is when you need him and whether my prayers are just MP3s for aliens. Thank you, thank you. Um, and then, excuse me, guys, I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold. I'm going to read another poem from Subhuman. This one is called Black Enough. And since, it was just Juneteenth, I figured this would be a nice poem to read. Whether I wear my hair in hurried cornrows or set it free, unleashed, a stormy crown of coils, divine nappy halo, framing my brown face, I may never be black enough. Even if I am resigned when men with skin the color of my palms reach out from behind me, cop their furtive feels, and I laugh at their theft, the violation, or if I only smile and drag my feet onward when the blonde, buxom third shift cop compares my divinity to steel wool, I may never be black enough. The elegant way my tongue dances behind full lips and words cascade clearly past the slight gap between my front teeth breeds no confusion that I am not black enough. The proof secret in how I say ask and not ax, how my ostentatious degrees radiate from my grandma's living room wall, and how I choose not to reclaim that slur in casual conversation unless a fire within me screams, just cause, tells you that I am not black enough. When my brothers from the hometown ask about the sounds in my ear, or if I have seen this movie or that, they are referencing that ubiquitous binary, black or white, right or wrong, because in their eyes, the same survival brown as mine. I cannot just be me, emotional and cocoa butter soft. Um, okay. How like, what time do you think would you say I would have until? Because I'm trying to figure out like what exactly else I want to read.
Yeah, I think you have until around 7:30 or so.
Okay, cool, 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 cool. So this last poem from Subhuman that I'm going to read um is I read this essay in The Sun, and it was by a judge, and he was basically talking about like how he feels about having to like sentence people to certain things, and how basically he felt bad and how he, wanted to wished he could do more, but he was like bound to like certain things. And I thought it was interesting. So I wrote this poem called A Face in Judgment. That's actually the title of the essay as well, by Devin Odell. Marco, in all his various incarnations, hues of flesh and constituent parts, is thriving. He has three kids with two women, a job, not a great job, but a good job that toughens his tanned hands, keeps the lights glowing, the shower flowing, and pays most all the bills which stack on an old table in, I guess, what one might call the dining room of his ramshackle apartment just outside the heart of his inner city hometown, which he will never escape. If speculation, desires, fears, and values decide brown and black futures, then maybe mercy should have something to do with it. But judges are the old gods, the real heroes and villains, all in the same black lacrimal costume, impossible to determine who is which, who hand clean, pristine slates and chances to white youth after white youth who are so, so sorry. Again, I am so sorry, time and again, the sorriest thing in the room. Judge, I am not requesting a defense or even an explanation of your decisions. I'm asking you, in your dark nimbus robes set high above the courtroom, to remember the future and denounce what the past so often dictates when you face Marco's baby cousin as a second or third hearing, bright and much too early on tomorrow's docket. Excuse me. I may not be worthy, unqualified to speak, and it is difficult, I know, to root yourself in our real reality, to climb down from Olympus's thin air apogee and consider our faces, beautiful with melanin and broad noses, just might be equal to yours in value, our minds and lives Rubik's Cube complex. Marco said, I'm scared, scared for real. But he escaped, not ensnared for life by a malign machine, a system that forgets you exist once judgment is passed. There is no rule. Your next Marco might not be so lucky, and these facts matter. He too will be repentant on his knees, so, so sorry, and scared, scared for real, and will demand emotional eye contact, human attention from the human scale which weighs his worth. You didn't know about Marco or how his life pulsed on, and I hope it sparks joy like 4th of July fireworks. God bless America to know he's alive. You have a mouthful of questions, I'm sure, but Marco's doing just fine. Thanks, guys. So I figured I could use some of this time to read some poems that I have never read before. I always have like go-to poems, and I'm trying to break out of my my comfort zone. So, this one is called How to Boil an Egg. And this is going to be in an anthology kind of soon. Um, so, uh, and I actually wrote this while boiling. I wrote the first draft of this while boiling some eggs. All right. How to boil an egg. First, you send your best friend a Snapchat asking him how to boil an egg. Immediately after hitting send, you sit submerged in the wet discomfort of regret, worried that you might sound incompetent, or worse, unqualified to be an adult. Briefly, you wonder how you made it to 33. Why didn't you just Google it? Of course, that's what you do next, contemplating how much culinary classes might cost, or if the budget-friendly option of allowing your stomach to binge on itself would be a more apt solution. You rub your fingers along your belly stretch marks. They want to wander to other places, but you're in control now and force them to grab fistfuls of flab at your side. You're not reading the instructions you found online, though you stare at your phone. There's an empty pot on the stove, and to that you attribute meaning, because significance makes things worthwhile. Phone dings. Best friend says 10 minutes. You fight the urge to ask what comes first, the boil or the eggs. Instead, you type, "Do you secretly hate me? I'm annoying, huh?" But delete it. You make your best guess about both things, and for 600 seconds, you ponder who will love you if you can't cook and are a lazy cleaner. When your grandma is gone, and that could be any day now, who will make spaghetti the way you love with the meat sauce and chopped Italian sausage, splash of hot sauce? Do you even want to spend an eternity in the same house as someone? And what if they can't cook either? You can't believe you thought you were fat in 2019. A sizzle rips you from your mind, drops you back into the heat of the kitchen, where the water in the pot is frothing with rabies, bubbles over onto the electric burner, and screams and smokes, and this is all too much. You dump the eggs and boiling water into the garbage, fill your hydro flask, TM, with too much with water, scarf it down like yesterday's midnight McDonald's. You swallow the take as needed pill the doctor prescribed and go to sleep with the stove on. Excuse me. Thank you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm like dying. Um, okay. So, this next one, um, it's called My Father's Other Son Falls on Rough Times, and this one is going to be in Bullshit Lit's upcoming anthology. So I'm excited about this one. Um, so my father's other son falls on rough time. You stole from our father what you believed after so many years was rightfully yours as he opened his failing arms to healing. It's too late now to pocket lost time, so you exhume corpses that resemble a deadbeat and reek of absenteeism. I've slept on that same sheet-covered couch where Auntie's chihuahuas lie, wrangle those same delicious demons, and I feel a lead vest of guilt when your children come to mind. Where do we go from here? Sure, I love you, and by that I mean I want to heal you and the world. I want to be able, but you keep caning me, and the blitz of blows to my wallet and my heart might prove fatal. Thank you guys. Um, let's see. So this one just came out in Silly Goose Press's um like Pride mini like issue that they put out. And I'm actually really proud of this one. I've been trying to write this one since at least February, and I have like so many like I always write out my poems like handwrite like I handwrite poems. I have a notebook full of them, and I tried starting this so many times, and eventually I got it right. And it was in response to a comment on a reel that I put up during Black History Month about you know about my writing, and someone commented. I see my people, but I don't hear my people. And this one's called This Is How We Make Trade. And if you're unaware, trade is like what the queer community calls like a masculine presenting man or masculine acting man who um, secretly hooks up with other men. So this is called This Is How We Make Trade. There are many somewheres across this free country where there sits a little black boy in his inner city classroom, a child who speaks in a way unlike the others. His voice soft like satin, high as the storm clouds drifting in on the wind. Why do you talk like that? He'll grow up wondering why he finds some men so pretty while Googling Playboy images of WWE divas with a boy sat next to him in sixth grade tech ed. The eccentric English teachers will adore him, and maybe someday he'll write a book stuffed with feelings, which he believes are only just printed words on dead trees. Perhaps in ninth grade, the boy and a friend will have a close encounter, pretend it never happened, even after one moves to the Sunshine State, and then never speak again. Perhaps in ninth grade, he will finally understand the tingle in the PE locker room, will comprehend why peers sneer and jeer and stab with that Groundhog Day question. Are you? The boy shrinks into himself, creates another who sounds and acts the same as all the rest, a him who isn't other. Any trace of distinction extinct, fire feelings extinguished to damp embers, solar flares biding time, havoc in the wings. Some nights you may find the boy digging in the field by his childhood home, no tools, hands bare, planting peonies for the brown boys, bullied out of erudition, trampled into conformity, shoved into the naughty violence of hiding in plain sight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then I think um, I'm going to end with what I consider, I get that a lot, Benin. Um, what I think is a happy poem. And I wrote this when I wasn't feeling happy, so this is like a pick me up to myself. This is called Poem in which I say nice things to myself. You are fish bones, delicate but sharp, holding together something raw and red and beating. You get the job done, no matter if the work bleeds you dry like a bloodletter or breathes life into your bones like a smile and nod from hot guy Hector who works at Valvoline. Inside you lives lion loyalty, if that is really a thing, though your circle is small, and pride is something your friends remind you to have. Your emotions are vast and wonderful and terrifying, and without drugs to dull their fangs, you feel them, let them reel you, topple you over like offshore winds, like a lingering late October hurricane. Oh, how you handle things well. My family is proud of me because for me, well is not an adjective or an adverb. It is a deep noun, one in which I splashed around for years before finally pulling myself from the murky blackness. My family is proud of me, but I lost a nail and my fingers grew calloused, and now up is no longer the only direction. I have options in love, opportunity, and discipline. Where did I find these platitudes? And where did I bury the man who exploded sunstorms and brimstone, who used every occasion, mournful or celebratory, to imbibe? That man was fun, which is to say, you are not. But now you are delulu, yet wise, and wisdom lasts a lifetime. Tears flow during Disney films. Heart breaks every time Nick picks up that pipe. Love buds 7 times a day through a drive-through window. All these things mean something, or nothing. But remember, you are fish bones, both delicate and sharp, one bite away from lodging yourself in the world's esophagus. Thank you guys.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Kayshawn. Those were amazing poems, and you did such a great job reading them. I love the grasp that you have on details and how well you build like setting and scene and character in your poems. They're just so immersive, and I'm so excited to get to talk about them more during the Q&A. But yeah, thank you so much again. And I'm very excited to now get to introduce our second reader of the night. Benin Lemus, she, her, is a Los Angeles-based poet, librarian, and educator. She is the author of Dreaming and Mourning. Benin is an inaugural workshop fellow with Obsidian Magazine's O Sessions Listening Room, a Pushcart Prize nominee, and the 2022 Furious Flower Prize honorable mention winner. Benin is a McCormack Writing Center and In Surreal Life alum. Her work has appeared in numerous literary journals, including Callaloo, A Gathering of Tribes magazine, and Torch Literary Arts magazine. She teaches poetry in the UCLA Extension Writers Program and serves as an assistant poetry editor at Consequence. And you can follow her on Instagram at Benin Lemus underscore poet. Thank you, Benin, and please go ahead and read it for us.
Thank you so much, Kashawn. What a fantastic reading. I love the poetry and the prose and really like the blending of the two, that cross-pollination. And as Kyla Yen said, the just the absolute attention to detail, which, I think is so apropos of your work as a prose writer. So that was so good. That was so good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, it's Juneteenth, Father's Day, America's 250th birthday, and what else we have going on? Chaos on Pennsylvania Avenue. What else did I write in my notes? Um, and just being here, being human, as what they call Earth School. So this set of poems, I think, sort of just encompasses all the things that we've got going on. I'm going to start off with Love in the Time of the 14th Amendment. The immigrant I love begins his journey disguised in the night to become American in the morning. The immigrant I love does not assimilate easily. How does one blend beyond language, subtleties of gestures, and intricacies of not being accepted? The pain of memories fading, the creating of new ones, where to store them all, life de facto versus life de juris. The immigrant I love holds me close at night, perplexed by his American born children who do not understand his foreign ways. He fears he has lost them. He fears they have never known him. They will never know him. He will never know them. The immigrant I love longs for a temperature that doesn't anger his skin, food without chemicals. This land is your land, not my land. The immigrant I love carries his successes as burdens, survivor's guilt. Swaddled in the night on his mother's back, he became everything America says is possible. The immigrant I love feels the weight of the border crossing him. The immigrant I love knows papers are the language of passage and belonging is more than waiting, fees, and tests. The immigrant I love knows in all the years he has been American, more than anything else he has ever been, belonging must be earned, belonging can be questioned, belonging can always be taken away. Thank you. So in my poetry, I'm always kind of going back and forth, and thank you so much. I'm always going back and forth between eras, and I feel that poetry in particular, as poets, we are able to have conversations across time. We're also able to use other poets' work as inspiration and as part of a larger conversation. So this poem is the original poem is by Harlem Renaissance writer Claude McKay called If We Must Die. And then Rafat Al-Orir, who was killed by an Israeli airstrike in 2024. He was a poet, he was a professor, he was a father. Um, he wrote a poem, uh, if we must die. And then Claude McKay wrote, if I must die. Here we go. So I picked up the mantle, if you will, and wrote a poem that sort of continues that conversation. And this is a broken sonnet, and it's after Claude McKay and Rafat Al-Arir. When we die, and we must, let our tears turn to flower. Where dark brown droplets soak the earth, watermelons spring forth. Hope rises like yeast, blood in rubble, skin in our teeth, pulpits doused in flames. We bite back with salted tongues. What glorious welts we wear, noble and brave, valor in our throats, bullets on the ballroom floor, ballots on the driveway. Fathers weep in fire-soaked fields. We holy, still, we defy. Laughter at the kitchen table, even when we crying, we know we will die. Mothers sew stories into kites. Look up, children. Lord, how we cry. Rebuild toppled houses. Press the ash of burned books into rock. We will write 10,000 tomes for each one charred. We defy. Somebody gonna put to memory what we wrote. We got time. We gonna live on after we die. Somebody gonna tell you about us. Hallelujah anyhow. Thank you. Thank you. So Kashawn and I were talking at the top about things that inspire us, or I was saying that my I don't think my writing gets better as I revise, but one of the things that I really do is I read a lot. So I'm always using that term illusion, right? I'm referencing something outside the poem. So that's one of the reasons that I love to read. I'm an analog person. I've been reading since day one. And so I think another way to have conversations with people through poetry, which is my genre specifically, is to refer to things outside the poem in hopes that people will also do more reading. I feel like that is something that we absolutely need to do um as a society. We just need to do more reading. An afternoon at the record parlor. And this one was published in A Gathering of Tribes. I want to buy vinyl that will transport me home to the mythological Africa of my dreams, the ones etched in Ethiopia, Nigeria, Malawi, and Burundi. Who claims me? Where is my great 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 grandfather from? Do I share his white smile and skin like rich coffee? Who was I before Carolina, California, Alabama, Oklahoma, before Clotilda, before ship manifests were written in perfect calligraphy, seeds, spices, Negroes? Creation stories comfort me, lands of mountain lions, coasts etched in ivory. I conjure myself as a healer, mystic, or farmer. I imagine myself flourishing. If I place the needle in the groove, will I hear home before this home? Will I hear the faint call of koras, djembes, cowries? A sonic beckoning from the bin comes forth. It sounds like sorrow and salvation. I answer from generations long past, the voices of distant Africans. Robert Cray's strong persuader sweeps through my skin like the kiss of tall grass. I weep in the aisles as Cray plays five strings, plays Georgia, cries the Atlantic Ocean. Everything stolen lands on shores. Akan, Ewe, Ga, his beginning, his great 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 grandmother humming songs at sunrise, whispering at sunset, ain't nobody gonna turn me around. Holding the record, I hold everything lost, needle in the groove like a slave ship sailing back. Thank you. Strawberry picking with my father. My father awakens us before dawn to drive 3 hours outside the city to pick strawberries. We are not on our way to bond as a family, but to learn a lesson. You kids are spoiled, he says, as we sleep in the back seat of our van. Time to earn your own money. My father worked nights canning tomatoes at a local factory in his youth. It was our turn to learn the source of our food. My eyes stunned. Strawberry fields as far as I could see, workers already up the rows filling pints to make flats ready for weighing. One bathroom, no clean water. My fingers assaulted by the cold, wet dirt, desperately searched for the right berries. Strawberries don't pick from heaven, they are picked by hand. I am 12, and no, this isn't fair. The workers fill their flats with precision and speed. There is no time to waste when life depends on $8. At day's end, anemic plants fill my flat. My father, pitying my brother, sister, and me, helps us make the wait. The sun at its zenith. We've had enough. With less than $20 earned, I leave the migrants behind in the blistering heat as they continue to work. I hold a half day's labor in my hand, exhausted, fall asleep, thinking one day I would start a revolution, topple a government, call a strike over $8. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my phone for this next one. And am I doing okay on time, Kyle, again? Thank you all so much. Okay. All right. So as I was talking about before, drawing inspiration from other poets, but also something that I teach in my courses is the importance of paying attention. So a lot of my poems have to do with the power of observation. And this poem is borrows a line from Ada Limon's A New National Anthem and was inspired by that same poem. This one is called Chrysanthemums at Midnight. It's the singer, not the song. That's how I feel about the national anthem. Truth is, I have never only cared about the version Whitney Houston sang in 1991 at Super Bowl 25. I don't remember who was competing or who won, but I do remember Houston's white tracksuit, white headband, and the droplets of sweat on her top lip as she sang the song most people don't sing well. And for most of Black America, it doesn't mean to us what it means for white America. That's just how it is. But somehow she wrestled that song from its violent conception and turned it into America's song, whatever America you came from. The chrysanthemum fireworks, red, white, and blue, felt different that night, and I, a 19-year-old Black girl, thought maybe America could be better. Now, 33 years later, so far from any dream promise, I don't hear the anthem the way Whitney sang it, full of hope and joy. But starting in May, when the kids in my neighborhood buy their illegal fireworks and, like the rebels they are, don't wait until July, begin detonating them as soon as possible, which makes me wonder what they know about this country and all of our rituals, or the fact that our national anthem has a name, the Star Spangled Banner. The fireworks set off during the day, tripping car alarms, scaring dogs, and waking sleeping babies, part of their gleeful adolescent ritual lasting all the way through the night of the 4th when the sky lights up and the air fills with smoke. What do they know of lines we never sing? The conquer we must when our cause it is just. Do they know of the wars the U.S. started or supported that brought their parents and grandparents to these shores? Trash cans full of spent cartridges, scorched cardboard and ash riddled the street. After the day and night of pyrotechnic revelry, I stepped carefully during my morning walk, despondent that the kids on my block aren't afraid of bombs bursting in the air. All they know is for 10 straight hours, they are invincible, dodging whirling bombettes launched with Roman candles, celebrating the birth of an idea they have not fully come to understand. And that was for my second Thank you. That is from my second manuscript. Looking for a home. Um, I want to read something else from my book. So this is my book, Dreaming in Mourning, and this came out in 2022. Everywhere there is a flower, underneath your feet, as a seed sleeping in the mouth of a red-chested bird, dropped and burrowed by ants, and later bloom as beauty at an unexpected time. Flowers learn patience from the seasons. No soil too barren to conceive color, fragrance, petal shape, or height. No crack too narrow for the stem, ovary, pistil. Flowers always find their way. The audacity of opening wide between the cacophony of sounds, natural and manufactured, takes our breath away. Tell a flower it cannot bloom, and it will bring you a bouquet. Um, thank you. And I think okay, so I think I have time for one more, Kyle, again. Do I have one more? Okay. So this is a good one in terms of ending on a on a more positive note. I think when I think about this country, like so many of us, we're all here on this rock and on Turtle Island together. And sometimes it can be so frustrating. It can be exhausting. And for so many of us, it's the only place we really, really have to call home. So we've got to be here and we're not going anywhere. It's kind of, I always think about my dad would say that, like, he was born here and here he shall remain. So I think we have a stake in building this country. We have a stake in claiming it as our own and making it better, making it better. Um, so this one, and I guess I can talk a little bit about the story later if it comes up. Go as high as you can. And this one is from my book, and it's dedicated to Teresa Okumo'u on the fourth day of July of 2018. And I'll tell you a little bit about her after the poem. On the day that stands for freedom, sparklers and flags and parades and banners, the day that reminds us of the aspirations of men, men who did not see all men as men, men who did not include women. There was a woman who scaled the sky to pull dreams from the trenches and drape them on a pedestal. Carrying nothing but her determination with bare feet and strong hands, she scaffolded Lady Liberty to proclaim. Let the day come when the flags, sparklers, and banners say the names of all men, all women, all children. Parades will celebrate the end of war, all wars. Soldiers are healed, no more soldiers made, and fields charred from battle will feed the huddled masses, the immigrants, indigenous, the refugees, the stateless. Trenches will be dug for clean water, not oil. Let sparklers light the night for the beauty we find in the darkness. Let the flags remind us that the nation is all of us, all our ideas, our pain, all dreams deferred, all of ours, yours, mine. We must suture and heal the immeasurable distance between us as grievous corporal wounds rip us apart. Let us go as high as we can to the base of liberty's feet to protest detention, separations, fear, and demagoguery. Go high to abolish the systems supporting oppression. Go high to liberty's torch to remind us literacy is a fundamental right, freedom is a fundamental right, water is a fundamental right. Dear sister, go as high as you can. Leave for every one of us your bravery, your words, until all children are released, is a declaration emblazoned on the consciousness of a nation struggling to awaken. Higher, higher you climb. Again and again you will climb until we all crest liberty's crown and look over a nation that wrestled greed and avarice from the grips of the men who refuse to include all men, and hand it now to the women and the children who have waited long enough. Thank you. And that one I wrote. So Teresa Okamo'u is is an artist, a public artist, and she's also an activist. And in 2018, she did scale the Statue of Liberty to protest the mass detentions in the first Trump administration in Texas. And of course, now we know, fast forward 7 years in 2026, 8 years now, 2026, we still have mass detentions and child separation specifically. And she made a point of scaling very large edifices. And the last one was the Statue of Liberty to protest those mass detentions. And I was trying to think about like also trying to get a World Cup poem in there somewhere because I'm a huge soccer fan, not a FIFA fan, but I'm a huge soccer fan. But she is a Congolese refugee, and I did talk about immigration. So I got my World Cup stuff in there. I got my World, and considering also, if you think about how many people who play for these teams, who play for these countries, including the United States, are immigrants, children of immigrants. We're all here, right? We're all making up this country together and other countries together. So that was my last poem. I wanted to, really try to underscore as well this idea that oftentimes this country makes us feel like we don't belong, however we show up. And we absolutely do. We have to assert our presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so, so much, Benin. Wow, what an amazing reading. You have such a grasp on lyricism, and all of your poems just have such a strong political power. And so I was just really in such awe of all of your poems. Thank you so, so much. And yeah, now I'm excited to get to talk about both of your poetry in our Q&A now. And so I'd like to open it up to the audience to ask any questions you may have. And, if we're waiting around for any questions, I can also jump in with questions on my own. But yeah, and Benin and Kashawn, you can also feel free to ask each other questions as well. But yeah, any questions from our audience to get us started?
Hi, poetry friends. This is Rachel Turney, and I have a question for each of you. Okay, my first question's for Kashawn. Well, I really liked how you used well as a noun when you were talking about like how you're doing in your last poem. I liked that a lot. You talked a lot about identity. What's been something about identity that's surprised you, that's been coming up in your writing?
It's such a great question. Oh my goodness. So, so in my biography, I mentioned that I am formerly incarcerated. So my collection, Subhuman, I actually wrote that all of the poems in that book. The the first drafts of those poems were all written while I was in prison. And I feel like I did a lot of transformation, I guess, in prison. And then I came out, and right now it's my whole, I feel like every day I'm literally just trying to figure out who I am. I don't know who I am. You know, every day I go through some sort of thing where I'm like, why do I do this, or why do I do that? And I question myself a lot. I question like why I do certain things. I question like I sent someone a text message the other day, and I was like, good chat, because they didn't like answer me back. And I'm like, why do I do that? And like, why do I feel like I'm doing why do I feel like I'm chasing I feel like I'm chasing who who I am, I guess, in a way. Um and I'm trying to do things that might give me a more definitive answer, a more definitive sense of self. And then I tend to write about them and the things that I go through. And I think that identity is like really important for me, just because I feel
it's for me, I feel like change is good. And I've never ever, been afraid of doing something because I'm like I haven't done it before. But I'm just trying to find ways to kind of like discover who I am myself. Yeah. And writing actually helps, especially the poetry. The poetry definitely helps. I write a lot of different types of writing, but the poetry specifically is really good at like maybe identity finding or identity defining. Thank you for the question. That was really good.
Very relatable. I'm also a poet who has rejected therapy, deciding that I'm my own poet therapist.
There you go. Right. Same.
My sister said that's not a thing. Um,
Well, is she a
um,
poet?
exactly. But I mean, I had two questions for you. One that I thought about while listening is how do you decide when something is a nonfiction piece versus a poem, when you're telling these stories about yourself? And then my second question is you talked about inspiration from others. What is a must-read book for any?
So thank you, Rachel. Yes, for the question that you asked, Kashawn, and also this one, because I always think that there is what I call the entry point to poetry, right? When you're writing a poem, there's an entry point. So where does this poem begin? And for me, sometimes it is, since I consider myself in part, speaking of identity, a socially engaged, community-based poet. So a lot of the work that I do centers around where I am, the people I'm interacting with, and kind of the worldview that I have. And I use a lot of docu-poetic techniques where so I'm reading newspapers, I'm watching the news, I'm having conversations, or I'm listening to conversations. But it kind of stops there because some of my poems are docu based, but then also some of my poems, again, the entry point is just I want to talk about this one thing. So in the Broken Sonnet, that I think is a good example of I want to talk about Claude McKay because I love the Harlem Renaissance. I want to talk about Palestine, but I also want to talk about the Black experience. And I want to talk about endurance, right? Of all kinds of people. So however you can find yourself in that poem, that's what I want people to see. Like that last line, we gonna live on after we die. So I'm thinking about June is Pride Month. I am not queer, but I have so many people in my community who are. And it's like, how do you keep going? Right? How do you leave that legacy? How do you keep pushing through? So the entry point is when we die, and we must, let our tears turn to flour. So, flour is the basis for bread and all kinds of things. So, the entry point is me thinking about being Black in America, thinking about Rafat El Arir, thinking about my tax dollars, thinking about the Harlem Renaissance. But then I'm going to go on and say, the next piece it's not really about me specifically, it's about endurance in general, right? So I think for me, not every poem is is fact based in terms of like it's not autobiographical, but I think every poem has a beating heart that is an entry point for some larger conversations. Um, and a must read book. Ooh, must read book. Okay, I'm gonna say that's hard. That's hard. Okay, so I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna say Bluff by Dania Smith. I think is a must read in part because it encompasses you talked about how do I decide what things are poems and what things might be more narrative based narrative poems. Okay, so they do a lot of different things in this book. Nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. In and of itself, that's awesome. But what I think is really tremendous about this book is that they are blurring the lines of poetry, prose, manifestos, you know, journal entries, And I think so I'm going to teach this book in my Poetry 2 class that starts in a few weeks. And one of the reasons, and I'm teaching it the second half of my class. And the reason is because I want students to think about poetry as this expansive genre that can be a lot of different things. So it's not just iambic pentameter, right? If you're just thinking about like sort of old school, it's not just, four stanzas, 5 lines, that kind of thing. It can be so much. There's even on a page, and I'll hurry up so I don't take all there's even a page where where is that QR code? I think that's page 43, 42. Okay. So there's a QR code. You scan the QR code and it's an entire PDF of other poems. I mean, you're just doing a lot. So I think this is a must read book because it will help break the possible idea that poetry has to be just this one thing. It can be a lot of things. You can cross genres. You can make poems. Poems can be long. They can be short. They can be visual, right? They can be a lot of things. So I would say this is a must read poem. And in fact, on their Instagram page, Dana Smith said that they thought that people did not give this book enough love. It was like of all the books that they've written, it's like an underappreciated book. And I would say that's true. It's also this way of being fearless with language. I feel like that is very, very important. Okay, and then one more, and then I'm going to recommend an anthology. There's so many. I mean, come on now. Come on now. This is a very difficult question you have asked, Rachel. Okay, but I'm going to also recommend this one. This is the other one that I use, Poetry Unbound, 50 Poems to Open Your World. And the reason is I think anthologies are underrated and underutilized because if you think about a poetry book, it's only one author, right? A collection is one author, but you're not really getting a sense of everything that's out there. And I think this is there's a lot of anthologies that are out there, but I love this one. I love this one because it's very well-known poets, but it's also poets that you may not have heard of. They don't have, thousands of followers. They don't have a lot of awards, but they're doing really important, interesting work. So I would say go to your public library and you get these two. Start with this one because I think this is more of what when people think about poetry, it's more in terms of like classically written. And I use the word classically lowercase c in terms of like it's stanzas, it's like repetition. But there's also, and then I'm really going to be quiet. There's also something that Patrick Otoma does that's really good is that he talks a little bit about each poem and there's a little bit of a short writing of each poet. So I'm a big fan of get to know the poet that you're reading so you can understand their work better. And then after you finish this one, just skip through, read a bunch of stuff, and then you just jump in, feet first, head first, belly flop into Bluff. It is tremendous. And it's a difficult read because there's so much going on. So it's not a, page 1 to page 86 type of read, but I just think the possibility of language and form is just broken wide open. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you so much for those questions, Rachel. And thank you, Kashawn and Benin, for answering them. And I know we're at 8, but I want to extend the chance to anyone else who might want to ask another question to our poets before we close out the reading for tonight. So yeah, any other questions people are interested in asking? Okay, in that case, I'll ask us one quick question just to close us out. This is for both of you, Kashawn and Benin. We're talking already about what brings you guys to different genres, for instance. But I'm really interested in kind of what brings you to writing in general, instead of like other or alongside perhaps other like artistic outlets. What about writing? What about being a poet? What about creating literature? Especially in a moment when we have literature that is so censored and defunded, etc. Just yeah, what about choosing to write is so important to either of you?
I'll go first if that's okay with you, Benin. So I think, especially now, I think for me, um, I like a long time ago, I used to tell my friends, right? Like I'll write about you, and then you'll live on forever. And I think now more than ever, I think it's important to document in a way um the things that are going on. um it's weird because you think history is set in stone, right? And it should be, because things happen, and then we have like our government telling us that no, that's not exactly like how that happened, or they're trying to erase things from the history books. And I think it's important. I think writing is very important because especially literature, because it documents very well the things that people are going through, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry. Um, I think that right now, in this day and age, the things that people are going through and the things that that are happening with this administration, and then just across the world, like we just got the first ever trillionaire. Like, what the fuck? um that's not exciting. That's terrifying. And these things, I feel like, without literature, without writing, I feel like they're too susceptible to manipulation, I guess, in a way. And I think that's what drew me into writing, because just in general, like, this stuff will live on forever, and people can look back on the things that people like Benin and I and Rachel and all these other wonderful writers write, and get an actual clear picture of of the times. Thank you. That's a really good question. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I'm going to build on Kashawn's answer. So I come from the theater. So when I was younger, I was always a reader. I was always a writer. But I always loved the theater. So I'm thinking about, you know, poetry specifically is it is our oldest art form, the oral arts, right? And then I think about after that, you had the written word, right? So for cultures that had writing in their culture, there was the written word. So, and there was things like letter writing. So in many ways, this is our oldest impulse, right? If I say something, if I come from a background that's literate, right, where I have the written language, my impulse is to write it. And so I think what we're doing is that we're honoring our oldest, most powerful impulses. And when Kayshana talked about documenting this moment, witnessing these moments, I just wrote some notes down like it's subversive, right? It ignites, it excites, it invites, it inspires. It's all of that. And for so many cultures, it was illegal, even in this country, right? Illegal to write, illegal to speak out about the things that you believed in, or to even the kind of comedy that you could enjoy was censored. The kind of drama that you could enjoy was censored. So for me, it's about all of these. It's about community, right? What we're doing right now, it's about community. So writing and then performing that writing and being in a virtual or a live community with people is the most powerful, enduring thing that we can do. And we will outlast all the governments. We really will. We will outlast all of the shenanigans. We will outlast it all. Um, and it's a challenge to be sure, but Why are we still reading Shakespeare? We're still reading Cloud Bouquet. And we're going to read Kashawn. We're going to read Benin. We're going to read Rachel. The Poets in Pajamas is still going to be going. All of these things, we are leaving these legacies of we were here, we imagined, we created. And to me, it's so much fun. It's also just a lot of fun.
Wow, thank you so much for those beautiful answers, Benin and Kayshawn. Your answers and your readings are such a great example of why this reading series and so many other things like it are so important. And I'm just so grateful that we're able to have you guys both here with us tonight. And to everyone in attendance or watching this later, I really hope that you'll go read more of Kayshawn and Benin's work, buy their books. Benin has Dreaming in Mourning. Kayshawn has Subhuman, as well as another book that'll be coming out soon. So yeah, please go and support more of their wonderful work. Thank you again, Kayshawn and Benin, for reading with us today. Truly, I feel so blessed and honored to have spent this time with your poetry. And
Thank
thank you
you.
to our attendees who have asked questions and been reacting and commenting. It means so, so much. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Poets of Pajamas, Sundress Publications, doing so many really fantastic works across the space. Thank you all. Kayshawn, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, everyone. And yes, Benine, it was amazing reading with you. I just bought your book, by the way.
Amazing. Oh, I love to
Thank
hear that.
you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Yeah. So, for everyone here, if you'd like to learn more about our upcoming Poets in Pajamas readings, we have them every month. We encourage you to follow us on social media. This reading series has been created courtesy of Sundress Academy for the Arts. And we also encourage you to follow Sundress Publications on Facebook, Instagram, and Substack to learn more about upcoming in-person readings, residency opportunities, grants for writers, and open submission periods. Thank you, everyone, so, so much for coming, and we hope to see you all at a future reading.
Thanks, everybody. Have
Thank
a great
you.
night.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Yeah.